Hi, welcome back to Erin's Reading Corner. Today I'm going to go over everything I read in April. I read 14 books and had a couple of DNFs, but I mostly liked everything I read. And let's get started. The first book I read in April was Wild Dark Shore. I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. It was a really good mystery, and I actually didn't know it was a mystery. Kind of like, I knew from the premise like a woman washed up and stuff, but I didn't know like it would be like the whole thing would be focusing on figuring out why she was there and what had happened on the island before she got there. That took me by surprise. I thought this was just general fiction. It was really good. I liked the mystery, and it took me by surprise. I really didn't guess most of what was going on. I was pretty much wrong about everything. I really liked it. It just didn't have me hooked all the time. There's a couple times I got bored and stuff, so that's why I rated it 4 stars. But I do think it's really worth reading, and it's popular for a reason. And then that was read during a searching for a 5-star read vlog. So after that, I had a streak of 5-star reads actually, starting with Wildcard by Elsie Silver. This is the last book in the Rose Hill series, and I think it's my favorite in the series. Or possibly even my second favorite after Heartless. I know it and Powerless are kind of tied for me. So I adore Bash and Gwen's relationship, and especially the side character of Clyde. Right? Yeah, Clyde. Who Bash is helping out by donating like a kidney, and Gwen's watching like him taking care of him while he's staying at Bash's house, and so there's a little bit of matchmaking from him. And it's really interesting. It was my first time reading a ex-boyfriend's dad trope book, and so that made me a little nervous, but I really liked it, or at least how Elsie Silver handled it. And I think it's definitely worth reading if you like small town romances, and you should give this one a shot. The series isn't to me as good as Chestnut Springs, but it is still a really good series. And this one is again my first 5-star of the month. After that, I read Direbound, but my mom currently has my copy of it. I found this book really addicting. I read it like in 2 days, and it's over 500 pages. The world was very vivid and interesting, and I really liked the wolves, especially Anasa, and kind of how she bickers with Marin and stuff. Sometimes Marin was a little frustrating, but overall I found she was a really strong female character, and I really liked her point of view and stuff. And I'm really looking forward to the second book when it comes out later this month. I think it has really good friendships and stuff in it. And there's a lot of drama, and it's a little different because, like, well, a lot of romanticises lately seem to be kind of like Hunger Games, just where there's trials. This one is a war-based one. I thought that was kind of a nice change of pace. After that, I read The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez, and this one's a little sparkly, so I'm not going to keep holding it up because I don't think the camera likes it. But this one was also a unique trope where it's boyfriend's best friend, and I wasn't sure how I was going to line up, but I did, since I don't really like love triangles, but I did like how Abby Jimenez handled it. It was really good. And the friendship was really strong, and that's kind of where it is for Chris and Larissa throughout most of it. They're friends, and like maybe they start feeling things for each other, but they don't want to act on it. And it's really until her current boyfriend Mike kind of does something unforgivable that like she breaks up with him, and Chris kind of ends the friendship temporarily with him and stuff, that they pursue the romance, which I thought was good instead of it being like a full love triangle and stuff. I really like the friend group, and it does make me want to go back and read last year's release, which I think is Say You Remember Me, since I skipped that one because that one didn't have great reviews, but it's like I kind of want to know what happened to one of the other friends, since the series this belongs to is all about the friend group and stuff. But it surprised me this one was a 5-star because I wasn't sure I would like the trope. After that, I read How to Lose a Goblin in 10 Days, a cozy little romance fantasy, which I had high hopes for this, but it was only a 3-star. And that was partially because the goblins and the halflings are kind of the center of the book, and like there's conflict between them. And it kind of felt a little too harsh for me for a cozy fantasy. Like there's a little too much almost kind of fantasy racism and stuff. But it was just like sometimes that, and like the female protagonist, Pansy, I don't know why I keep wanting to call her Poppy. She was sometimes a little too mean and entitled for me in the beginning. That like I didn't really like her point of view, and kind of was just forcing myself through it to get to her part where it's like, okay, she's gonna change, right? Because she has to be that Ren will like her and stuff, and she does grow, and it is good. I would say this is a maybe in terms of like if I would recommend it. I'm not 100% certain everyone should read it, but I think if you like cozy fantasy and romance, you should maybe give it a try. Kind of simultaneously with that, since I was getting a little frustrated, I started Love and Other Disasters, which I've had on my TBR for a couple years now. This one I did not realize it was a queer romance, so that took me by surprise, kind of having two kind of back to back. But I really liked it, and how it was like kind of a cooking reality show, which was a little different for me and like the tropes I usually read. And I really liked that about it, and like seeing the different food challenges they did and stuff. And I can't remember the names of the characters. Dahlia and London were really interesting. There was kind of a third act breakup, but it was kind of hard. It's kind of hard to call it because they weren't fully together. They never had like said anything official. But like it wasn't exactly miscommunication, but like how are we going to deal with her being kicked off and them still being there and stuff. So it was a unique like kind of third act breakup where it wasn't miscommunication, so I didn't mind it as much. After that, I started a vlog where it was my mom picks my 3 reads for the week, and they were all fantasy. The first one I read was The Faraway Inn by Sarah Beth Durst. This was a 4.5 for me, 4.5 stars. And I had really good luck with the other book I'd read by Sarah Beth Durst, The Spell Shop, so I was really looking forward to this, and it is really good. It just didn't quite have the same spark for me as The Spell Shop. But anyways, this one is a little bit more magical realism, where it takes place present day in Vermont, but the Faraway Inn has the ability to like open portals to other worlds and stuff. And I found the other worlds very interesting. It was just a little slow getting to the magic because the main character, Calissa, has to discover that the inn's magic. She's not just told when she shows up that it is. So it's a little bit slow to start, but once it gets going and you're doing the magic and trying to help the inn and stuff, it's really good, and I had a hard time putting it down. After that, I had one of my 2 DNFs of the month, so I'm going to talk about both of them. The first one was Wayward. I did like what I read of this book, or at least 2 of the characters' point of view. The other one was a little triggering for me, and that's why I stopped it. So you should know there is a little bit of domestic violence in this, and that's something to keep in mind. It was something my mom thought wasn't touched on a lot. Like, it didn't feel like a lot to her, so it didn't bother her. But for me, it was enough that it was upsetting. And I didn't want to keep reading that character's point of view, but I also then felt bad, like, oh, if I just read the other 2 and stuff. The other book I DNF'd was an arc of research purposes, or it's research something, that I got that, in the description, it just talks about them being like a second chance romance, but it doesn't mention how she's married, and the second chance is with an ex-boyfriend. And so it kind of seemed like it was going to be a very focused on like cheating, and I just didn't feel comfortable with that. So I just said I DNF'd it. The writing was good and stuff, but it's just not for me. After that, after starting and not getting about 100 pages into Wayward, I picked up The Book Witch by Meg Schaefer, which is one of my 2 favorite books from this month. Possibly my favorite. This one has a character who is a book witch. She's named Rainy March, and she can go into different books, and she has a romance with a book character that's not really supposed to happen and stuff, and so she's trying to solve a mystery. And Sorry, I lost my train of thought. And it has a lot of things where it's like each section of the book is like a different genre, so that section takes on elements of that genre, and it's very much a love letter to books and readers and writers. And so I would recommend this to like any book lover. The starting quote of the book is, "Every story is a love story," and I really like that because that kind of is how the book is. It's definitely a love story to books and stuff. And yeah, like I said, this was my favorite of the month. After that, I tried my first Tara DeWitt, Savor It, and I thought this was really cute. I gave it like a 4.25. I just wasn't invested in it in the beginning. I was a little unsure and stuff, but I ended up really growing to like both Sage and Fisher and their romance, and I really liked how Sage had all these animals on her property and stuff, and the small town was really cute. And I look forward to reading the other two in the series because I've heard they're also really popular, and I liked the brother and best friend that the second book is supposed to be about. And like I binged 2/3 of this book in like one day, so it was once it got going for me, it was hard for me to put it down. And yeah, I still recommend Tara DeWitt as a romance author to try. After that, I finished my TBR for the month with Violet Thistlethwaite is Not a Villain Anymore. When I read the description of this, when I picked it out from Book of the Month, I thought it would kind of be similar to Assistant to the Villain vibes. It was very humorous and funny and kind of low stakes kind of romantic. It did have like the villain aspect and stuff, that it's like kind of trying to, she's worked for a villain and she's trying to start a new life as a florist in a town nearby where his like castle was and stuff. So that element was similar, but like it was a little slow for me and not a lot happened. And I really liked the side characters in the town, but we didn't see a lot of them. And the male love interest, he was a little boring for me and stuff, that I didn't connect with him, but I did really like Violet. So I gave this a 3-star. And then after that, I read And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison. I really liked the first book in this series, First Time Caller, so I was really looking forward to this. And I keep hearing people say really good things about it. And I knew it was about snow, so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to want to read that in the summer, so I need to get to it like soon. I absolutely love Delilah and Jackson. Jackson's anxiety and like nervousness to be on camera kind of reminds me a little bit of myself and kind of how I will kind of start to babble a little bit. And I found their story really comforting and stuff, that like seeing him come into his own and start to feel more confident and stuff. And like Delilah, even though she has a couple of challenges at work and stuff, and the boss that isn't great, she still finds her way and stuff. It was really charming and funny, and like there was a touch of seriousness with like the stuff about his anxiety, about being on camera, and like him raising his younger sisters and stuff, and like stuff with Delilah's job. But like it was still really sweet, and there were some moments that really felt like a early 2000s rom-com, kind of like how the first one did. And I'm looking forward to the third book in the series coming out next year. After that, I picked up Nightbane, which is the sequel to Lightlark, and it follows what happens after the Centennial in the first book ends. So in the first book, there's these different islands that are all connected to Lightlark, where the rulers are coming together at a 100-year kind of contest, that they're trying to break all their curses. And in order for the curses to break, one group's leader has to die, and if then that leader dies, the whole group's supposed to die. So it's them trying to figure out how to break the curses and stuff. And this is dealing with like kind of what happens after they break the curses. And it was really interesting. Again, a little slow for me at the beginning, but it did pick up, and it made me really interested in finishing the series. And so I might pick up book 3 in May. And I gave this one a 4 out of 5 star. And then my last 5-star, and one of my other favorites of the month, is Thrown in the Dark. This one was recommended by the booktuber Belle Therese. She really likes Assistant to the Villain, and she read this also in April and said it really reminded her, the whole series really reminded her of it, and I do say the humor is very similar. So if you like Assistant to the Villain, I would give this a try. It's very funny, and it has, the main character, he's a demon spawn, and so he is a villain and stuff, and the girl is bubbly and stuff, kind of similar to Evie. So they have a lot of good banter and stuff, and there's really funny side character moments. Like at one point they have to go to this kind of cult that worships his dad, and he's like really not wanting to be there, and he doesn't like all the antics of the cult and like how they like praise him, and his dad, he's kind of like, okay, can we just get this over with? And like that scene was like really funny and stuff. And there were a lot of other good funny moments, and there's also some like high stake moments and stuff, because he's like going on a quest to like try to free his dad, who's been like trapped in this like jewel and stuff, and she gets taken along for the ride and stuff. And it's really good, and I really want to get my hands on book 2 so badly. So yeah, this is my second favorite of the month, and another one of my favorite books. I think maybe this might even be a 6-star read along with The Book Witch. Those are 2 new favorites. And then the last book I read, which I finished yesterday on the 30th, was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. So it kind of took me by surprise that I read this book in May, because I haven't been in much of a mystery thriller vibe. But I think Holly Jackson's writing is just so enticing that like I couldn't put it down, even though I haven't really been feeling mysteries. And I think the fact that it was a YA thriller, kind of mystery thriller, made it feel a little less high stakes. Even though at times she was in danger and stuff, I didn't feel like as scared as I have been by like some adult mystery thrillers. And the book has a ton of twists and turns where I thought something was going to happen, and I was right. But it's like, I feel like I got that by like pure luck. I was like thinking, oh, maybe it could be so and so, and it like turned out to be them. But then there was like another twist where like someone else is involved, and it's like, oh wow, didn't see that coming at all. So I do think it, while it's YA, it doesn't feel too young, even though she's in high school and stuff. It does feel like just a detective, like a amateur detective working on a case and stuff. And I think I'm going to finish the rest of the series, and we'll give Holly Jackson's other mysteries a try. I know I really want to read Not Quite Dead Yet, her first adult one. And this was a 4 out of 5. Just because there were some moments where I was a little bored in the beginning and stuff, and I got a little restless while reading it. But it was really good, and I recommend it as well. So those were my 14 reads of the month and 2 DNFs. I have 6 books picked out for May that I'm going to read, and I've started on one of them already. And we'll see how next month goes and if it's as productive. So that's everything I have to say. So I'll see you next time. Feel free to like and subscribe and do all that YouTube stuff. And bye.